My name is Megan. I'm 15, and as it is relevant to this story that I'm going to be sharing today, I live in Massachusetts. So, this is basically a story about my experience in a psychiatric hospital in an inpatient facility, which I know some people are like, isn't there only inpatient? But like, there's not. There's outpatient treatments that like when you go to therapist office and there's other therapists there, that's a psychiatric facility. When you go to a partial hospitalization program, which I was in last year in like the summer, and I was there in like June to July, and it is a place where you go during the day and you go home at night and you still live in your house. You can still see your friends or your family, but you are still being hospitalized. So basically, you are in a psych hospital during the day, but you can sleep at your house and usually eat dinner at your house too. I know some are from 8 in the morning to 8 at night, or 8 in the morning to 5 is most common, but the one I was at was from 9 to 2. So that was that. And that's also a psychiatric facility. Um, so pretty much anything where you get psychiatric treatment is a psychiatric facility. So this story is directly about inpatient psychiatric facilities. And it will include self-harm and suicidal thoughts and eating disorder like comments. So if you are triggered by any of those, you should stop watching this video and maybe go watch cat videos or whatever else you want to do. And if you do decide to watch this video, even with hearing those things, just be mindful of those things and maybe get a snack because this video might be long. So that's that. And if you're wondering what's making the licking noise in the background, that's my kitty cat who is currently on my bed. And ignore the mess in the background. So let's get into it. So I was admitted to a psych ward on November 17th? Yeah, 17th. So on Friday the 15th, it was a normal day for me. I went to school like anything else. I ate breakfast beforehand. I like went into school. I started with history. I went to gym class, Spanish, and chem, and it was completely fine. That day, I had told somebody, a really, really good friend of mine, and looking back, I can't be mad at them. Like, they did what they did because they were concerned, and they told a social worker at my school. We have two, but the one I see most frequently, not frequently, but like more frequently than the other one, let's call her Mrs. Z. Mrs. Z called me into her office during legal studies. So went to lunch. I didn't eat. and I played Dungeons and Dragons with friends of mine in a classroom because none of us liked going to lunch and being in the cafeteria. And we're nerds, so like, yeah. And if you don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is, just Google it. It's really too long of an explanation. So, during legal studies, which was my sixth period, or for us, we go by alphabets, so it was F block. And I had legal studies for F block. And so I got called within the first like 3 minutes of the class down to Miss C's office, and I asked if I should bring my stuff. And I don't know why I asked that because I kind of had a gut feeling that like this would be because of what I had said earlier, and I was hoping it wouldn't, like, you know that like you know what's gonna happen, but you want to think it's other things and like come up with all the other possibilities it could be because you don't want it to be that thing. So the teacher said, I don't know, she didn't specify, and so I brought my stuff, and I brought water. And so I was there for the entire rest of the day, which was about 2 hours, a little less because F block starts at 12:19 for us. Our lunch ends at 12:16, and we have 3 minutes to get from every class to the other class. So I had went down, and I kind of had a panic attack on the way, and I usually use the bathroom, so I went the long way. And because the bathroom was that way, not because I was freaking out, but like I was freaking out. So I went to the bathroom, and I nobody was in there, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I just After that I went down to Mrs. Z's office, which we have a 2-level school, but each levels only have one hallway, and then like there's 3 sets of stairs. So with legal studies I was towards the middle of the building. So I went to the right because right in the middle there was a stairs. On one end there was a stairs, and on the other end there was a stairs. And on the other end it was all middle school classrooms. And as I'm a sophomore, I didn't want to go in the middle school bathroom, which we're not allowed to do anyways, but like people do it anyways if you have art, because art's on that side of the building. And so I went to the right out of the classroom because that's where the high school bathroom was, in like the high school upstairs hallway. And then I went down. There's a staircase that goes down to like most of it's high school, except for a computer room, a library. The library was way on the end, and then the computer room and Spanish rooms are closer to the middle. So like they were all towards the middle of the thing, and then the library is way on the end by the stairs. And also my English teacher's classroom was there. So I just debated stopping in with her and didn't end up doing that, which I don't regret because she had a class that block and it would have just been awkward. And I talked with Mrs. Z. Um, I didn't say much, and at the end of that, she decided that I either needed to go to the ER or have crisis come and evaluate me, and that I had to stay in the guidance office, and I had to be in a visible place, so I couldn't be like in the like I don't know what to call it, but there's a room for like kids that shouldn't be in class. That's room 101. We use it for lunch detention, we use it for in-school suspensions and stuff like that. So I could be in there, but since there wasn't a teacher in the room at the moment, I could not. And some of the staff use that room for meetings. So yeah, it's just kind of a room for like whatever and not really classes. And it's like next to the guidance office. And so I was just sitting in my guidance office. We have two guidance counselors and two social workers. So there's their offices, and then there's a hallway to their bathroom and the office, which is right next to the guidance center. They're kind of conjoined. And there's a table in between, like, the space between the guidance offices and like the little secretary's desk, and then there were two tables and computers, and people were on those computers, so I didn't go on them, but I had to stay in the guidance office. And since crisis couldn't get to the school until 5, we decided to just go to the ER, and my parents were unsatisfied with the crisis system that our school goes through. And so is the school. The school has gotten a lot of negative feedback from that. And so when it came to us saying that, like, we had terrible experiences, now they're starting to change it. So they're going through a different crisis system, which is the one the ER that I went to goes through. Excuse me. So I went to that ER, and I got taken in right away because it was like 3 o'clock on a Friday, and nobody really goes to the ER on 3 o'clock because everybody's either working or at like schools. They might be staying after for things. But I was not allowed to leave guidance. I was not allowed to be unsupervised at all, including if I needed to go use a bathroom or go get water. I could not do that myself. Somebody either had to come with me, or they would, like, say it was filling up my water bottle, they would go get it. Or if I needed something from my locker or something, they'd call up the classroom I was supposed to be in and say, can you have a student get this, and bring it to the guidance office. And since my locker was not locked, I asked for my affidavit from the mock trial, for the mock trial that we're doing in legal studies, which was the block I got called out of. If you don't know what legal studies is, it's a class where during October, like late October to early November, you get a case, and for the case, in order to prepare for the mock trial, you have to come up with all the questions, you have to go over the affidavits, and you have to pinpoint everything that the judge could say, you shouldn't have done this, you should have done this, and like stuff that would make you lose points. And basically, whichever team gets the most points wins, and then they go on to other rounds. And we basically do a mock trial, pretend to be witnesses or attorneys on the case they give us. And as I was a witness and an attorney doing cross on my witness, I needed to really, like, not memorize, but like know the affidavit and know what was in that affidavit that I wouldn't want to be asked when I was on the stand. So I asked for my affidavit, which was in my locker, and I worked on that for a while, and then I read a book because this was about 2 hours that I missed of actual classes, and I was excused for them. But around 2:15, my dad came, and around 3, we got to the ER. So I was put on a hallway stretcher because they were understaffed. And at like 6 o'clock ish, a person from the crisis team that hospital uses came evaluate me and said I needed to go inpatient. So I ended up staying at the ER for 2 days, which might seem 3 days actually, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I left at 2 o'clock on Sunday. So that may seem like a long time for just being transported to another hospital, but psychiatric hospitals are usually filled. We don't have enough of them, we don't have enough beds, and we don't have enough money for them because, like, we pay taxes towards other hospitals. We do not pay taxes towards psychiatric facilities. So basically, the only funding they get is from patients or insurance companies or people that want to donate. So in order to make enough room, we would need to pay taxes that went to the purpose of building psychiatric hospitals and maintaining facilities. So it usually takes from either 3 days to 2 weeks to find a bed in an inpatient facility, especially if you have like special needs or like say you had a seizure disorder and you needed a soft like room without hardwood floors and like cabinets around you, or like tile floors because you have seizures and you don't want to take the chance of hitting your head on the side of a wooden bed or on the floor. It would probably take you a lot longer to find an inpatient psychiatric facility that could accommodate you. And that's usually the problem with getting admitted to a psychiatric facility. So for me, that wasn't an issue. And a bed opened up in Vermont. So I live in Mass, which is why this is relevant. I got put 2 hours away from where I lived. And it was hard for my family to come up. Mostly just my parents, dads, I have two. And they would come up, and no, one's not my stepdad, one's not my grandfather. They're gay. I was adopted. That's it. So they would come up, usually individually. They only came up once together, and that was just for a family meeting that we had to do because staff had to do it, and it was like mandated. And so I got taken by ambulance because they have too many kids that go with their parents and their parents don't take them because the kid gives up so much of a fight. So I went in an ambulance, and most of the time that I was at the ER and in the ambulance, I just read a book. And then sometimes at the ER, I would watch TV. There was, in the ER rooms, there was a bed bolted to the ground, a locked closet that you could use if you asked, but I didn't ask since all I had was deodorant there and like soap and perfume. So there was that. And then there was a table and a chair because my dad had to be there. One of my dads had to be there at all times, or a family member, like somebody who was related to me. So my parents were talking about my aunt coming, but that never happened. And they left for about an hour and a half to go get food. And they brought me back food. And this was at like 10 o'clock at night. And my dad hadn't eaten dinner. And then so the ER started sending up food for my parents since they had to stay there. And it would always say no utensils and highlight it on my receipt. Like, that gave the order what it was and what should happen with the stuff. But I always got utensils, so that was an issue. And that never stopped. So that was that. And when I went into the ambulance, I got put on one of the stretchers and like buckled in, but I wasn't being restrained or anything. Like, it was just something that I had to do. I was really just buckled in, like, chest wise, so I could, and there was like straps across my legs, but like I could still move my legs and I could still move my arms. Like, I wasn't restrained. I could easily just take the buckle of the things off, which was good because I had room to read a book. So I read a book there that was like 517 pages. And throughout the entire, from the hospital I was at, it was about an hour away. So for the entire hour, I just read a book, and I ended up getting to page 359. And the only reason I remember that is because at this hospital,